It's a shame because it feels so nice to use, but that really is a major fault. Okay, this has been sitting in the garage for a few days now. It's been quite an exercise in self-control, but today I'm going to open it. I've been waiting until I had time to look at it, set it up properly. So today's that day. Let's have a look at some of the features and stuff here. Yep. Sweet. Hopefully that works good. Yep, that's very handy. Gonna be good to have a double charger. Automatic torque drive. Interesting. Inbuilt laser, okay. And Bluetooth on-demand dust extraction. Not gonna be much good unless I buy the dust extractor. It's just a way to make you buy more stuff. Wow, not much packaging in there. I was expecting to see a bunch of polystyrene. Like opening the bonnet on a modern car and you can't see anything. But there it is, just sitting there, right in the middle. Charger. Something telling you how the Bluetooth function works. Cordless Mitre Saw DLS110, DLS111 and DLS112. There's a 112. Oh, don't tell me they got a 300mm one I didn't know about. The batteries are just thrown in there. Oh. There's the little Bluetooth AWS chip. 2 5 Ah batteries. Are they charged? No. Fully flat. And just thrown loosely into the box. See if this charger works. It's time to go, old girl. It's time to go. I hate it when my phone does that. Right when I'm filming. Now before I dismantle this area and turn it into my new miter saw area, give it a good clean up and everything, I should do a few tests, comparison tests. So I'm going to stick the blade on this. That came with, look out, came with that. So this is it here. It's only a 32 tooth, which is a bit disappointing. They normally give you a 40 tooth. That table saw came with a 40 tooth. That miter saw came with a 40 tooth. So I'm guessing maybe it's easier for it to push a 32 tooth through with the batteries, because if you put a 60 tooth on this, it takes a lot more power to push a 60 tooth blade through than a 32. So I'm going to set this up here on the table saw. I'll put the blade on my old miter saw first, and then I will try it out on this one. Right, so there's the model number of my old Makita, the DLS111L. L just being for the laser, I think. 6.5 amp, 1430 watts. This is a 240 volt tool because I live in New Zealand. 260mm, and it's 4,300 RPM. And here's the new one, the Makita DLS111 260mm saw, 36 volt and 4,400 RPM. That's quite interesting. 100 extra spinny things. I have this piece of pine here. It's a rather odd size, 80 by 80. Nice and easy with the new blade. Now I'll set this saw up with the same blade. I won't make any adjustments to it apart from those necessary to make it work, and we'll do some cuts, see how it cuts, see if it's worth swapping out for the electric one, and if it is better than the electric one, I'm happy with it. I will swap them out, and then I'll do some tests to make sure everything's square and that sort of thing, and we'll have a look at some of the other features. does come with one of the standard Makita clear plastic triangles for getting things square. A tiny little Allen key, don't know what that's for yet. And we have a knob here, which is for the front. I'll have to put on before we can start. Let's have a quick little look around. It's quite different, very different to what I'm used to as a miter saw. The really noticeable differences are the degrees here on the miters gauge here. 0 is over on the right hand side, 60 in the middle. The battery's just gone on my light. And so there is 2 markers, there's the other one around there. So you have a 0 on each side, 2 60s in the middle. So essentially 2 separate gauges. So that's a bit different. It has the front rail here, like a Festool. So that's for your bevel, so you don't have to fiddle around the back, you can just do it from the front. Very, very, very handy. Basically they've redesigned this completely from their old miter saws. Just totally different. All the little, the clamp's quite different here. Funny looking thing. The dust extraction system is quite different. We've got 2 ports here for it, and a hose that goes between, which I've misplaced at the moment. Very big fences here, and the capability of cutting architraves and mouldings that are quite high, about 170mm at the back, which is pretty high. You know, you look at it and you think, wow, look, that's got a good width capacity there, over 6-inch sort of holding, except the fence is here. If you line the fence up with this, only just over half of this actually holds your timber. The rest of it, waste of space. Bit odd. The base on this though is a lot bigger for supporting your wood, and you've got a lot of places for putting in extra clamps, heaps of clamp holes, which is good. And it looks quite beefy, and the base is a lot bigger than my other one, but the overall length of it is 200mm shorter. I've just noticed this is quite clever. The clamp doesn't have any way of holding at the back. There's no screws like this, for instance, to hold this in place. So I was like, how does that work? I lifted it out and it's knurled on the end there. So when it's in there and you put pressure down on the clamp, it's going to tweak the angle of that slightly and it locks in. You can't get it out. Simple and ingenious. Hopefully it lasts a decent length of time, doesn't sort of wear off and come loose. It comes with some instructions here, sellotaped to the base. So what do they say? It is not on 0, it's on about 3 degrees there. So to ship it they probably have to tweak it slightly just to fit it in the box and everything. So I'm assuming that's all that's saying. Make sure you put it on 0. So it doesn't slide all that smoothly because it's fighting all these rubber dust extractor things. So that one hits the fence. Pull it forward and over that, and then when it gets to a certain point, crashes into that back one. How long are they going to last? Could have maybe spent a little bit more effort getting that right, do you think? That looks a little bit clumsy. Because the saw's going to be down like that when you hit it. It's not going to be up. Yeah. A little odd. Got the tool in the front here for, I'm guessing, taking off the blade. It'll fit in there, presumably. Gee, she's a long bugger. Yep, so that's in there for changing your blade. I like the fact that when these come off, they have a clip on them on the back here. And then that clips onto your support there. So it helps you not lose it. There's such a high fence on it there. I think I might have that off most of the time. And then this won't crash into it for starters. And you just use that if you're doing vertical moulding at the back here. When you're doing moulding, this is the cut height here. they've managed to make this, instead of being straight like my last one was at this point, they've managed to get a bit more out of it, and that way you can get all this height here, cut something that size. Look at that, you could probably cut, you might be able to cut 2 inches, inch and a half anyway, in width that way, and about 160 that way. So that's pretty cool. It has a laser, as they all do these days, and it's integrated a lot better than the last one. My other saw, the laser's just added on afterwards. You can see your 2 battery indicators, so you can see how much charge you've got left. Very handy, of course. Up here we have wireless AWS. Your chip goes in there. The chip comes in a little packet like so. So if you put that in there and have that turned on, it will talk to your dust extractor, and every time you pull the trigger on this, your dust extractor turns on, sucks up all your dust, which is pretty cool. You don't have to turn your dust extractor on and off, and you don't have to think about it, and it'll only run when it needs to run, which is a nice little feature. Some of the early models of this saw in the US didn't have that. I know a lot of people were a bit miffed about that. As far as I'm aware, all the ones in Australia and New Zealand have that feature. There's a lot of chips out of here, I've noticed already. As if a blade's already crashed into it. Surely not. Button on the side here for unlocking the right hand bevel, I'm guessing, and something I've never seen on Makita Mitre Saw before. I've got these 2 little tabs at the back here for making your bevel go an extra 3 degrees past 45, so you can do up to 48 degrees. Interesting little feature there. Now this here's intriguing me, especially since it's wrapped in its own little plastic bag, when all it is a metal flip here, a metal stop. Now the picture has a picture of the blade hitting something. Not sure what that is. I might have to look up the manual for that one. The rails here are well greased. A lot of schmoo on there. Right, let's pop this up. These are nice. The locks here and the same one around here for the rail, much improved on the previous models. There she is at her full height. She's a big looking unit. It's, you know, for a battery tool, she's no baby. It's not a small tool like battery tools often are. This is a full-sized miter saw. It's a monster actually. The base is just huge, and it weighs more than my previous miter saw, the corded one, by about 5 kgs. There's no release for getting it to go up and down, which is good. I can't stand the ones where you've got to pull a little lever to unlock the guard so that it'll lower. It's just totally unnecessary. And that, I'm guessing, says don't lift the blade up while it's still spinning in a piece of wood. Who would do such a thing? Batteries go on the back there, sort of back right hand side. You've got the angled motor here because of the right hand bevel. Got another little stop here. Not sure exactly what that one's for yet. Well, this is essentially the same as all Makita miter saws. You stop for your depth of cut. Right, got to get a blade on this and have a play. Get the 32mm blade on, 32 tooth blade. Comes with a 25.4mm arbor on the blade, same as my previous saw and the table saw, 1 inch. We better just straighten this up first. So I'll straighten that up, put the blade on, and we'll cut that 80 by 80. I know now why they give you such a long Allen key. This nut was done up so tight I needed the leverage to get it undone. Now anyway, what I want to show you here is, look at this, offset. The drive's actually, get out of the light, shadow I mean, the drive's actually up there, and then it transfers down to here. Helps you get that extra depth of cut. Yeah, very cool. So I guess it's a belt drive inside that unit there. Maybe one day I'll take that apart and do a video. So the drive's at the top there, that's where the motor's coming through, and then a belt drive down to where your blade is. Very cool. That'll be how they get that extra bit of depth. And here's a tip, Makita, something I'd like to see on upcoming miter saws. Something that holds that up when you're changing the blade, so you don't have to try and hold that while you're putting the blade on, because it's always a pain in the bum. As per usual in this part of the world, they're made with 16mm, to take 16mm arbors really, and then they whack an inch bushing on there. So you can use 16mm blades, just take that bushing off. And Makita, I don't know who you've hired to put those nuts on, but that one and the one on here, man, that one there, it's a reverse thread of course, which I knew, and it nearly broke that Allen key trying to get it off. Now the dust bag appears to fit only on the top one directly from the saw, not attached to this bottom one, which will only work on a dust extraction unit. That's annoying. Right, there's both the batteries charged on the charger it came with, 2 brand new 5Ah batteries. Let's put them on the saw. Ready to go. Been waiting a long time for this. Saw this machine, I've used it before. It was still a prototype actually, it still had parts printed off a 3D printer. Don't know if it had any of this on it at that point. Had a bit of a play, did a few cuts. Liked it very much, and now here I am with my own one, about to pull the trigger. Another good thing about this new laser as well is they've got a removable lens in there, so you can take it out and clean it, which is a lot better than the other one, and it's in a better position than the last one. It just gets covered in shit so quickly, it's just not worth using. Plus it only works if you're in darkness. Outside it's completely useless. It'll be interesting to see if this one's any better. Come on, pull the trigger. Pull the trigger. Wow, I think that's louder than my corded saw. The button up here, in a very handy place. The other one I had to push with my thumb. This one, it's right where your hand goes, so you just push it and it's just natural. No extra stuff. I like that. Easy safety feature. Means you're far less likely to bypass them. That's freaking nice. I should probably get used to stopping the blade in the timber rather than bringing it up while it's still spinning. Seeing as it slows down a lot quicker, it might catch on something. But yeah, good finish. Good finish for such a shitty blade. Better finish than the other saw was giving. I think I'll keep it, which means I'll set her up in her final position. And we'll do some more tests. We'll check if she's square, fiddle around, look into these features a bit more the specs. And I'm going to write down all the cuts I do. I'll count up the ones I've just done. I'm not going to do a test where I see how many cuts this will do through a 4x2, because I don't want to waste that much, money and resources. It's just a friggin' waste. So I'll just do how many cuts I do. I'm not going to write what I cut, but it'll give you some idea on how many cuts. I don't cut 4x2 all day every day, and lots of people don't, so it'll just be a random assortment of cuts through pine and a lot of hardwood. So I'll just keep track of how many cuts. I'm going to hook this up to my dust extractor. But until such time, let's just have a look at how much dust is about the place. I've done 10 cuts through that piece of pine. Quite a bit of dust at the back here. How much has the bag collected? Okay, so it did fairly well. In fact, it did very well. Very, very well. Much, much better. I know I should have taken the thing off the bag, but wow, that's good. It's got a little diverter in there too, I've noticed, to shoot the dust either side so it doesn't pile up in the middle. So yeah, if you look at it as a percentage, we're only looking at a couple of percent of dust there, I'd say, at most. Doesn't that just look like a beast? It's hard to believe it's actually smaller than my previous one. Although the dust bag, now that I put it on the back, probably brings it out to about the same length. So that's a bit annoying, but I will have the dust extractor hooked up to it. Ah, sorry old girl. I think it's time to go. The faithful old miter saw. Gee, she needs a good clean. Well, that's stuck on there well. Years of schmoo stuck on there. I think I'll give it to the wife to have a bit of a clean up with. And she'll be going on a local auction site. See how this one, the length from there to here, is massive. This sticks out a long way, which is annoying because I catch myself on it all the time. And this saw was bigger than the previous one, so I had to add on this little bit to my bench just to hook it up so that it didn't crash into the back. And even so, I had to build in that little alcove at the back there, and I still didn't get it right because when you bevel it, it still crashes, damn it. In position. Finally, it's taken me a few days to get it here. Now, I've just been checking the square and what have you of this blade, and up and down she's all good. So this way she's all good, straight out of the box. This way, slightly off. Not much, just a tiny little bit. So I need to adjust that. I need to get all that right before I do anything with the bevels to check those. So to adjust it, you need to move this mitre gauge plate here. So the angles are all on here with the positive stops. These checkout points are your positive stops underneath here. That locks into those. If you loosen these 4 screws, I like that noise, it's quite satisfying. Anywho, so it's locking there at 0, but it's not quite on 0, so I need to adjust those and then adjust the pointers to suit. Got it hooked up to my dust extractor here, so I found a hose that kind of fits in the back, taped it up there, cobbled together some plumbing parts here to make it fit onto my dust extractor until such time as I get a Makita one with the Bluetooth doohickey in it. So it took a few back and forths to get this right, just tiny little adjustments, but I'm happy with it now, and the 45 seems good. There is one other thing that I've heard mentioned, I don't know, probably over a year ago when this saw sort of came out, and that is a sort of cupping on the top here. So your square will touch here, and a slight cupping, and I can see that it's ever so slight, but it is there. My 2 free 5 amp hour batteries have arrived from Makita. The deal was, if you bought the saw at Bunnings, you got a double charger, 2 5 amp hour batteries, and then Makita would, via redemption, send you another 2 5 amp hour batteries. And they arrived in just a week, so that was pretty sweet. So now I've got 4 5 amp hour batteries, which I'll use exclusively for the saw, I think. I'm still using this first lot, and I haven't even taken 1 bar off them yet, and they've done around 80 cuts, so that's pretty good. So I'll chuck these on charge and carry on experimenting. So here's my cuts, 243 total. So, and I probably missed a few, so around 250 on 2 fully charged 5 amp hour batteries. That's doing all sorts of different cuts, like I said earlier, a lot through 19mm 3/4 inch Vitex, a few cuts through 10x2s, 8x2s, a lot of hardwood mostly, bit of that stuff, bit of that stuff, bit of that stuff. This pile of timber here is a pile I have created trying to get this thing to cut straight. Now I don't mean square, I mean straight. I've never had this problem with a miter saw before, but somehow this was cutting curved. it's to do with this rail. So somehow the saw would come along the rail, and the rails aren't straight, and if one rail's not straight, the head pulls in, comes back out again, giving a cut that looks kind of like this. So my cuts on the left hand side of the blade, looking at the saw, were ending up concave like that, and the opposite side convex, obviously. And I thought, how the hell? It's hard to sort of compute that you can get a curved cut with a circular saw blade running on rails and everything, but it was, and it took me all those cuts to get it right. I discovered it by cutting some 45s like this. I'll try and show you what it looks like in a moment. It's a bit hard to see probably on the camera. We'll hold up to the light and see what we can do. So if you had two 45s that were like that, you have a big gap in the middle. If you have two that are like that, the thing rocks in the middle. So you'd have to get two that were opposite each other to line up properly, which is no friggin' good at all, of course. So to rectify that problem, I loosened these two screws here, which were done up extraordinarily tight, snapped off my Allen key, it's a good Allen key too, trying to get them undone. Once I got them undone, I jammed a piece of timber in there. Can't remember what I used now. Anyway, a 3/4 inch thick piece of timber, 19mm, jammed it in from either side and just tweaked it backwards and forwards, tightening it, trying to cut, checking if it was better, worse, tweaking it the other way, backwards and forwards, etc. Trying it over and over again until I finally got it cutting straight. Which isn't something I feel you should have to do with a brand new miter saw, straight out of the box. And it's not something that is explained in the manual, so it's a bit of a shitty thing to try and work out if you don't know what you're doing. And the amount of these saws that must have gone back to Makita because of that issue and this issue and all the other just slight misalignments of things seems a bit silly, and you think they might have put a bit more care into it, or at least give you instructions on how to tweak all these things and adjust them if need be. Having said all that, it is now in line and I like the saw, runs nicely. I've now put on a 60 tooth Diablo blade. When you've got, the more teeth you've got on a blade, it doesn't cut quicker, it cuts slower. Okay, you've got to remember to go just a little bit slower. It gives a finer finish. So I'm going to do a few cuts with that now and show you just, what the saw is capable of doing. But it is slower, just to let you know, it's slower than the saw blade that came with the tool, which was the 32mm, and I believe in 32mm, I've done it again, 32 tooth. In North America, I believe it comes with a 40 tooth blade. Down here in the Antipodes, it's a 32. Struggled a little bit there, but it didn't with the 32 tooth blade. The 60's, a bit harder for it. Didn't do the nicest cut either. Just realised I hadn't actually tightened it up on the 45-degree bevel, so that might have been the reason it was a little bit rough on the side. Now this is 140mm, and I'm going to cut it like this. Voila! Look at that. Couldn't do that on my last saw. I really should have had that fence on for that. To take that off to do the bevel cuts a little bit better. Now if you just use this little lever here at the back and flick that down, that helps this bit become more accessible for doing those vertical cuts like that. you may have noticed there that it was quite dusty. This Diablo blade is firing a lot more dust in different directions than the one that came with the saw. I noticed on my last miter saw I put one of these same Diablo blades on, and it too did create a lot of dust out the sides. So that's a bit of a bummer. I haven't actually got the dust extractor hooked up at the moment, I've just got the bag on. But you can see there is a fair bit of dust since I've been using this Diablo blade. One more thing with the dust extraction, if you don't have an extractor on it, get the camera in here. Let's get a bit of light in there. You can see all the dust fires in that bottom chute there. It fires in there quite nicely, but there's nothing to take it away, and so it all just blocks up in there. Because that only works if you've got an extractor. This is 100 by 80, 24 tooth blade. No dust extraction. Same wood, but this time I've got a super blunt Makita 40 tooth blade. It did pretty well considering how blunt that blade is. Didn't think it was going to cut that good. There's a bit of a test for the battery power. 10 by 2, or 250 by 50 pine with the original 32mm blade, 32 tooth blade. Throw a knot on that one. Cuts good. She's made pretty solid here with the materials. The aluminium, there's not all that much plastic on it, you know, considering what tools are like these days. You've got the plastic guard, of course. Got one plastic piece on the back and the main motor housing here, but it is PA6 with 30% glass fiber, so it's pretty tough stuff. This review is going to be a long one. I'm sure you've already sat through quite a bit to get to this point. If you have, thanks for that. And there's still more I haven't really talked about. Oh man, I haven't even discussed the lasers, the left to right side of the laser. This little lever here, which is for positive stops on your bevel. It resets each time, which is quite handy. What else didn't I talk about at the beginning? There is a lot of features on this saw. Let's put some light on the situation. A lot of features. You've got a torque light up here. I don't know if I told you about that. So when she's under a bit of pressure, the green light comes on there, the torque changes. Just have a look and see if the torque light comes on. The torque light came on that second cut, not the first one. It's only when you try and do it quick. Blade and the one that came with the saw are both thin curves. See, I was looking at this one thinking this is way thinner than this, because it's just a much lighter blade than the Diablo, but I just measured them and they're both 2.3mm, but this feels much heftier, much less likely to deflect. Look, look how far that blade goes, and look how much further the Diablo one goes. Wow! But my favourite, look at that. Made for cutting our trees, is it? Okay, seems a bit odd. Maybe it's just me, but it feels and sounds better with the Makita blade than the Diablo. The Diablo one didn't feel all that balanced. Surely not. This one's a bit concerning. Just as well, I sorted out the curved cuts. I can't be using it enough. Got a spider trying to make a web inside the dust port there. Speaking of dust ports, can you see there? This one's all chewed up. So I hope they're cheap and readily available, because the saw's already caught it several times, taken chunks out of it. Not a very good design if it can hit the blade, but it looks like it's easily detachable, because that's gonna happen. It's not the best, not the best. I guess I should wrap this thing up. In a future video, I think I will do I'll do a spec video on this thing with all the measurements, all that sort of stuff, make it much shorter, because you've all sat through quite a lot here, and some of it you might not have wanted to see. But I'll do a quick spec one, and I might do another one on all the adjustments you've got to make to this thing, like this and this, the bevels and stuff, just to get it all functioning right. Once the saw is functioning correctly, all lined up, it's nice. It's nice to use. It actually feels nicer though with the Makita blade on it than this Diablo one. If you have any questions about the saw, feel free to chuck them in the comment section below, and I'll try and get around to answering them if I know the answer. Thanks for watching, guys. I know it was a long one. If you've made it this far, cheers for that. More Makita stuff coming up. I've got a rather neat little toy down here, which has been sitting around for a few weeks now, and I haven't even had a look at it yet. But it's a good saw. I recommend it, but take some time. Don't expect to use it straight out of the box. Spend a bit of time, a few hours, getting it right, having a play with it, learning what it does, and just getting all those things lined up. In the future as well, this plate may be a problem. I've heard that they wear out in these aluminium slots here quite quickly, and so it'll start to get a bit sloppy. So that's an issue to look out for. But overall, I like the saw. It's a lot cheaper than if you were trying to get a Festool, for instance. I think it's a good value saw. It's got good power for a cordless saw. And yeah, I now don't have a powered circular saw. They're all battery, I think. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one. Subscribe if you haven't already down below. I do heaps of Makita reviews. I've done about 30 of them so far. Makita don't give me the tools. They don't pay me for this. This is all my own opinions. So they're real opinions. And yeah, if I like it, I like it. If I don't like it, I will tell you. Okay, thanks guys. See you on the next one.